and advance women and girls in the digital age. Today's event is brought to you as a collaboration between AWA and the UN Commission on the Status of Women, also CSW for short, both of which share the common goal of promoting gender equality and the empowerment of women. For over 30 years, AWA has been actively supporting and participating in the CSW, listening, learning, educating, and proactively seeking solutions to obstacles hindering the advancement of women globally. As women, we have come a long way in our fight for gender equality, and we have made tremendous gains in many industries where we were formerly outnumbered by our male colleagues. Among them, the medical field, the legal profession, education, politics, and social work. However, we continue to be woefully underrepresented in 4 key areas: science, technology, engineering, and math, also known as STEM. Women in these industries make up only about 28% of the workforce, and men vastly outnumber women majoring in most of these subjects in college. As a result, women are not able to compete for some of the fastest growing and highest paid jobs. This panel discussion will take a look at the reasons why women are systematically distanced from science and math from a young age, thereby limiting their access and opportunities later as adults in these thriving industries. Our panelists will discuss how we can address the underrepresentation of women and girls in STEM education and the job market, and the accessibility of training and education in tech everywhere, including rural areas in Armenia. Now, it is with great pleasure that I want to introduce our 3 remarkable panelists, women who, despite the challenges and scarcity of other women in these fields, have forged their own path in the STEM industries. Each of these women is an exemplar of how women can, in fact, not only succeed in these industries, but one day, hopefully, dominate the STEM industries. First, we have Dr. Lucy Abkarian, who's a scientist and entrepreneur with over 15 years of experience in drug development. She is also an advisor and board member for a number of tech and biotech companies, investment institutions, and educational organizations. Dr. Abkarian obtained her doctoral degree in biophysics, and she conducted postdoctoral research in the field of experimental medicine at the Scripps Research Institute in San Diego. She later obtained her MBA from UCSD in innovation and entrepreneurship. For the last 5 years, Dr. Abkarian has been involved in the formation of several startup companies in biotech, digital tech, and bioprinting in the United States, Armenia, and Israel, where she is instrumental in business strategy development, operations, market entries, and regulations advisory. She has founded or co-founded 4 science-based organizations, including Prune Labs and Grit Gene Therapeutics, where she also serves as the CEO. Next, we have Nare Gavorkian, who is a designer and entrepreneur whose mission is to make Armenian design a quality mark in the world by creating physical products which serve people and improve their quality of life. Nare serves as the head of product development at STEMAR in Armenia. STEMAR makes STEM education accessible to children by using modern pedagogical principles, including immersive and experiential learning centers, maker spaces, social media, and public school modernization. Prior to joining STEMAR, Nara co-founded and led the design processes at Embrytech, a wearable tech startup that created smart insoles to help people lead healthy lives. The company has built a proprietary technology for footwear and helped change the perception that it's impossible to create a hardware product company in Armenia. And third, we have Seda Papoyan, who is a social activist who utilizes her mastery of digital tools and technological innovations to promote and empower women and girls to thrive in all sectors of industry, including the technology sector. Seda has nearly 20 years of experience in communication and project management with a focus on nonprofits, social entrepreneurship, and fundraising. Seda is the founder and managing director of Girls in Tech Armenia, a community of more than 70,000 like-minded women around the world who are committed to seeing tech evolve with the participation of more women. SETA also founded Femina, the biggest women's innovation conference in Armenia and in the region, which takes place each year in Yerevan during the last weekend in July. SETA has also had leading roles in a number of other technology and STEM education programs, including setting up a new French-Armenian digital tech school, the FED Technology School, where she serves as the executive director. Welcome, ladies. So, we'll start the panel discussion and get right into some questions, and then towards the end, we'll open it up to any questions that any of you may have for our panelists. So this question is for any of you that want to address it. A recent survey revealed that young girls gain interest in STEM subjects at around age 11, and then they lose it again by age 15. Why do you believe the girls from a young age are less interested in these subjects, resulting in a substantial gender gap in these industries in later years?
So I think you mentioned the number there, 11, and then later, right? I think when younger age, the discipline the female students have usually is much better, and that's why we are seeing a lot of advancement in the field of math, in some cases science already by that age. So that's where we are seeing that there is a potential in female students to advance in STEM field. However, down the line, we start having interaction more, and they are starting to have more understanding how the real world is, and that's the reality. There are limitations, and understanding how you are going to have integration of your life, personal life, and STEM or any type of actually activity. A lot of time, female professions or disciplines where it's integratable with personal life, family life, motherhood, and things like that. That's my impression. And nothing is there to support and promote their interest, development of their skill set. That's why there is a drop of interest at the age when they start having better understanding how the real life is going to.
Do you mean women tend to gravitate towards industries that you think are more practical?
Yes, like something that they can coexist with their family life, them being a good wife, them being a good mother, being next to their children. They start understanding what is being criticized, and one of the things that I hear most, for example, yeah, that's great, you are succeeding, but you should pay attention to your kids, like they know how much attention I gave to my kids, for instance. So, and this is the type of thing that that's the age, like late teen, perhaps in high school, that the girls have better understanding of how real life is going to look like, and also the challenges, right? And a lot of times, people are being pushed away, and that's nobody's hiding that, right? There are conversations. Sometimes you will hear somebody saying, "Oh yeah, we will take care of it because you have kids to take care of." Like, I never asked for help. I'm being able to manage my kids and my work, for instance. But this is the age where the absorption of the environment is affecting their decision making, and I think that's the reason, one of the reasons that is why there is a equal.
If I try to reflect on the ages you mentioned, I have a 10-year-old girl, and she's very much happy to explore everything every day. And now her current passion is space and space engineering. That's what she found out recently, and she's just trying to explore it and see the ways whether it is possible from Armenia to become a space engineer. Because I had a chance to work with a lot of girls, especially at the ages you mentioned. The moment they start getting interested, it's fun. It's something their eyes are shining. And then by time, especially when they are at teenage, and they are so much impacted with stereotypic views and environment societies and one we are living in, then we see that they do become more and more close. Kind of they try to absorb these different emotions, opinions on, is this a good thing you are interested in? Is this something that girls should be interested in? And then this interest and this shining eyes become more and more, how to say, less shining. And then at some point, it's like, okay, languages is something I should take off.
And I would add maybe from the UNESCO research in 8 Asian countries, we found out that STEM is associated with male subjects in the society, and also it becomes an inappropriate choice for girls. And let's see how we talk, how world talk to the girls. We say, be shy, don't talk too much, no one cares. But being in science, being in technology is challenging the status quo, right? So being a manager and entrepreneur, you need to be savage, you need to be bold, but how we expect our girls to be there, to be that kind of person when we talk to them in that way. So also research shows that when teachers and parents are talking to their girls, saying that, you know, by learning you will expand your possibilities in STEM, they are most likely to choose STEM as a subject and then as a career.
Thank you. This question, Nara, actually is for you. One of the things STEMR does in Armenia is make STEM education accessible to children. In your experience, have you noticed a reduced interest in these subjects between girls and boys, and how do you try to keep young girls interested and engaged in these areas?
Yeah, in STEMR we have a mission to cultivate STEM education for all, and this is a priority for us. Talking about boys, it's a very interesting question that in Armenia, in rural areas, sometimes boys are discriminated as well because it's not very prestigious to study in rural areas for boys. Sometimes parents or their environment, someone from the environment can say, you know, why you are into books? Are you a girl? So yeah, we have that kind of attitude to boys as well. So when we talk about girls, it's interesting that with our pilots in Kabush region in Armenia, we have 50-50 participation rate, but without having it mandatory. Because according to my teammates, they say that if we make it mandatory, it may even decrease the number of girls participating in the program. Because it's very important to create inclusive environment without highlighting it. So yeah, we have.
And I'm sorry, did you say that's 50-50, but
Yeah.
without any sort of just a natural?
It's natural. Yeah.
Now I think all three of you touched a little bit upon this in your previous answers, but I did want to ask a little bit about the stereotypes that exist, and if you think that stereotypes about women contribute to women's attitude towards STEM education and or careers in STEM, and if so, what are some of these stereotypes, both globally and in Armenia particularly?
Well, I will start from Armenia. I will bring my example. I graduated from Prismat High School, which is inclined to become clinical high school in Armenia. We had, in my class, it was 85 girls and 27 boys. It is amazing. It's like a merger. If anyone doesn't know what Prismat School is, it's like a combination of boarding school and charter school. There is a dorm. People can come from anywhere in Armenia, stay in the dorm, to the high school. If you don't live in Yerevan, it's highly competitive. You have to sustain your grades, take exams, stay there. It's completely free. And it's understandable. It's heavily male dominant high school. When I was choosing my profession, my both parents are physicists. So I went to physics, took my major in physics, not because physics department, even a major in physics. One, because my physics teacher constantly was challenging me, showing that physics is not for girls. To say the truth, I didn't have much interest in it, but then I didn't have interest in anything. So I just wanted to have fun. 15 of my classmates were going to do major in physics, so I just joined them to do that major. I ended up being the first girl in honors program that your State University Physics Department had. However, it was even more challenging because, for example, I got a B for being a girl in honors program. And when my male classmates told the professor that they heard my oral exam, they heard my answer, like how dare he putting B, they were their witness, he stood up and he said, the physics department is not a place for girls, especially the honors program. So I love that professor.
Despite that,
he was amazing. He was teaching me that's the reality. He was, as Armenians say, chewing the material and putting it into your mouth. So there was no way you would not learn it. And then when I was taking my final exam, and then one moment I was nervous and I was having a hard time. He stood up and he said, "Gentlemen, wait, I know she's a smart one, she's going to figure this out." After 4 years, we didn't have much interaction during that 4 years. And of course, everybody invited the only girl in that program, so they kind of didn't know what was happening. So for me, that's my personality. I like when I'm being challenged. When somebody says we can't do that, I'm going to do that, even though I don't have to. So that was my personality. That there are a lot of cases, and it could have been very easily something that would have break me and not let me to stay in that field. However, it had the opposite effect on me. We had fantastic girls in my cohort, not the honors program, the general cohort. None of them is doing business now. Everybody diverted into more family integrable things, project managers, something that they can do remotely. But and then at work here in the US, one of the things that I was told at the very beginning when I moved here, I was told that female are hired for experience, men are hired for potential. I was lucky one. I think I was hired for potential. When I got the call and I was told that we are moving forward with you, I was like, why? I told you I got in London. Like, I seriously told that I went there for interview experience, not get the job. So I was lucky in that term. However, my men co-workers, were constantly emphasizing that I am a new mom, that I am a girl, that I have to take care of household. Like they would step over, they would step on my toe, and then when I was calling out, they would say, "Well, we wanted to help you because we know you have a kid to take care of." Like, that was never a question here to answer. So. I think there are a lot of challenges that if you don't have that strong stamina and know what you want to do next, or if you are not taking that a challenge and saying, I'm going to do this despite what you think, that's a lot of reason to filter out good potential female candidates for moving forward in that path.
I would start again with my own example. My background is in humanities. When people learn about it and ask me why and how come, I say maybe because no one like me was there around to kind of orient me towards possibly a science direction, and I would become a really very good scientist by now. And when I look back, luckily it was not my family with stereotypes. My father and my mother were like, you are open to choose whatever you want. But why I chose humanities, I started studying history, then languages, then project management, etc. Because it was just my school, the kind of orienting me. Teachers, oh, you're really good in languages, and among those, there is those professions, and I grew up in Yerevan. The capital of Armenia. So among those which are meant for girls, this is something you're gonna be really cool and you will reach those heights. And there I was, following that route that the society, the environment I was growing up showed me the way. And then another example, just recently we hired a super girl, and when we heard her story, she grew up in a rural area in Armenia, and she told, we're asking, you are now in a field in technology education trying to organize stuff for a lot of other people to study technology. How come you studied law? And then she said, you know what, in my village, very small community, that was, I mean, even not the field, but the specific university was the only path. If you are good at school, if you are someone to study in the university, this is the university that you should go. And she was perfect, trying her best, doing, like, putting enough effort, and then going to law. And the moment she said, I entered like 1-2 months into law faculty, I realized that's not what I'm going to do in my life. She finished it bachelor's and she moved out. I mean, she changed everything, and she decided to try find her own passion in what she possibly would be if someone in her school, in her environment would guide her, if she had such an opportunity. And when going back to stereotypes, what I usually say is that stereotypes wouldn't exist if they were not powerful. I mean, if there are some stereotypes, so that means that they affect a lot of people around. In our case, STEM, not only in Armenia, STEM fields are for boys, and girls should, if they are brave, and as Nare truly mentioned, if they are bold enough, then they could kind of overcome those stereotypes to move on.
I would like to add some interesting point that I have learned from rural areas. So when we want to go deep in the root of the problem, sometimes we need to be honest with ourselves and realize that entrenchments in that micro misogynies exist in the women as well, especially in the older generations who are responsible for teaching new generation girls. And yeah, we have examples when they stop girls to be involved in STEM because they have their beliefs, they were raised in some ways, and now they stop them or they discourage them. So I believe that there are plenty of opportunities there. We need to concentrate on fixing the environment and the culture, and especially with STEM, one of the most important part of our mission is working with teachers. Yeah, so we need to fix that, how they approach, how they deliver the STEM subject. And I know that in Armenia, CLOF does that, Teach for Armenia does that. So we need to work more with the teachers and parents rather than girls. So if the environment is fixed, they will choose whatever they want.
I may add one more thing regarding stereotypes. When I was in Armenia this fall for a couple of events that were happening, and I was on a panel speaking. After GIF, a couple of students approached me, and they're like, "Oh, we were reading about you, and we researched you, and we have a question. Is it okay if we ask a personal question? How is your family life?" So there is, I mean, they see a successful, to their eyes, successful female, and for them, there is that unconscious opinion or stereotype that probably she's very career-oriented, no family. Usually I don't like talking about my family life and my personal life, but I started realizing that maybe emphasizing that that's okay. You can be happily married, you can have kids, you can have a successful household, and you can still do your career as any man can do that. And there are very different things. Sometimes you hear, oh, there is behind every successful man there is a good woman, behind every successful woman there is a bad man, and there are these different things, stereotypes, right? But I think everything is enough. We don't have to take everything shortcomings, advantages, and like turn it into advantage for ourselves. your choices. I was not planning to have kids until I was 34. When I was 34, my daughter was 10 years old. So when things happen, like nothing was planned, nothing, I don't like always keep surprises. So that's life, and I cannot be any happier. And I think she's my partner in all the things. So is my husband. And I think it needs to be spoken out also, that they understand that it exists, and we don't need to choose between one or another. And it's not, I don't like saying balancing work and life. I like to say integrating work and family life, because it's an integration. And now, I feel like after 2020, we can do a better combination of it, and there are more opportunities, things are more accessible. You can choose being a stay-at-home mom, yet amazing tech professional.
Well, one of the things you said earlier, Lucy, that is on topic, is you said both of your parents are physicists, right? But they didn't want you to also be a physicist. Do you think that's because you're a girl?
Oh, definitely. No, it was, I think my father was seeing things better than I was seeing. First, as I said, honestly, I didn't have interest in science. I didn't have interest in anything, but I think he saw that I had the leadership skills, organizational skills, and he was thinking that I would be better with it. And also, it was 2000 when I was going to university, and science in Armenia was not in a brilliant state. He was astrophysicist converted into computer scientist himself. I think he was just like, he was in better potential in doing something in finance and economic or business. That was the only reason. And to add to that, I think I'm just lucky to be on the environment that I came out. In San Diego, people don't know what it is. A lot of times they see and they associate with me with Muslims.
Too.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's like you say you're Armenian, and they're like, oh, I always wanted to speak Arabic. And I'm like, interesting, me too, I don't mind speaking Arabic. Like, I don't. And like they were like, you know, another Muslim family to the neighborhood. I was like, oh, great, fantastic. So there is people make assumptions, and then they act on it. And one of the things was that I was approached saying, you are phenomenal, you are fantastic, you have to come and give inspirational speech. And I was like, about what? And they were like, Middle Eastern woman with PhD. And then I was just a problem. To me, it was like, I didn't do that. I was like, I'm fourth generation college educated woman in my family. So I definitely didn't, my mom has a PhD. So I definitely didn't do anything extraordinary. But I mean, I was in that environment, and definitely that was sort of for them to find me.
In the digital age, how important do you think it is to have adequate representation by women in STEM industries and careers in STEM?
Well, this is something.
Go ahead.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, we can hear.
okay. When we talk about in digital age, when we talk about any profession, there is almost enough. All the countries around the world, there are 50% women, and when we exclude 50% of the population from any field, that's going to be a drastic result. And when we talk about STEM and science, technology, engineering, and math, if we exclude women or if we have less and less representation, then we have less results. Because how come other fields could have equal representation and potentially better results? And when we speak about STEM, we don't have innovative and innovative approaches that women can bring. And when all those fields that push diversity as one of the best ways to engage and bring more results, then in STEM, and especially in technology, it is really important to bring this diversity on table and try to have better results economically, financially first, but then also when we speak about the quality of those results, it cannot be the same when we engage, when we don't engage women.
Actually, I would like to add about being careful when we try to engage women here, because it's very important to have to illuminate the discrimination. But we need to be careful not to start to discriminate me. Because I know cases when, for instance, there is a 10 scientific grants, and because of the mandatory 50-50, if there is like 2 applicants, as a female applicants, they give only 2 grants to men. It's discriminating as well, right? So we need to be very careful not to lose some very important results. When we talk about results, we don't want to answer discrimination with discriminating, right? So we need to be very careful, and also we need to be very careful when we start to give less importance to non-STEM subjects, because we don't want our girls to choose them just because it's cool, right? Because maybe they want to stay at home and they want to be just mom at home, and when we overstimulate that STEM principles, maybe we can end up being just having 50-50 but no results. So we need to be very careful when we try to close the gap.
I would like to emphasize what Nara said about equality. It's very important that we understand that we are not on mercy, that we are not asking, oh, please give us space. No, we want true equality. If the man is better at doing this, the same position, hire men. Don't hire us because we are women and they need to have the status quo, they need to diversify. And I take advantage of it. I say, like before, I was doing always the required because I know I speak with accent, I can mistake when I'm speaking English, and so many different things. But now I'm your best board member. The most diverse education that can come. Unfortunately, I don't have Afro-American heritage and homosexual orientation. I mean, otherwise I would have basically, when the boards are looking at different categories, I would have covered everything. So, but what I'm trying to say, like, take us for who we are, and we should not ask for mercy. We should not ask them to do something out of pity. But also, I think we need to help each other, empower each other. One thing that I'm noticing that sometimes in female co-workers, that there is no empowerment. Men, they are so like good at elevating each other for no reason. For females to be elevated by your female colleagues, sometimes you feel like you have to do this extra mile, you have to constantly do extra work. So I think those are the things. But again, like for us, each one of us does it the way with a little bit of pride that is not one like please.
Merit space.
Exactly. In regards to your question for digital, I think again, because of these all changes, there is a better opportunity, and the digital era is I think giving a better opportunity to spread the word what are the opportunities out there, especially in underprivileged areas. For example, I mean, this is something I don't know what is exactly happening in Armenia in terms of information spreading and awareness of like, what are disciplines, what can be done. But one thing that I know, like for LA, for example, LA County recently reached out to me saying, can you help us organize webinars for different colleges in LA? With LA, it's called LA Economical Development Corps, where we are organizing webinars, and I'm talking what are career opportunities in biotech. Because a lot of people, when they hear biotech, they think it's pipetting. But biotech has very many different career opportunities. The same, I think, goes for coding, for tech, for deep tech. So I think if we start doing this type of webinars or awareness sessions in any with digital I think we are going to, a lot of people are going to understand that there is a good fit for them. A lot of people are going to understand that this is a fit for them based on their needs, based on their abilities, based on their potential. And this is something that when I was working with different companies in Israel, and one of the startup companies there was based on their cultural needs. So they recognized that culturally in Israel there is this certain group of people for whom females cannot go out, cannot be working in, cannot work in company, because of the nature of the religion, of their culture, of their heritage, right? So this organization decided to identify these females who have a great potential in high school, because there are so many, and I can see the parallels with Armenian reality, girls in villages, where they cannot go out, they cannot be around a lot of men, which is men-heavily industry, the tech industry. So they started giving projects to these girls. So these girls now are actually creating apps. They are making money and they don't need to go out and about and be around other male co-workers, which is a big honor for them. So I think that's something that we can think of integrating into our society, as well as there are some parallels, I think, culturally.
Lucy, this is actually a question. This is for you. In your experience, both as a scientist and also as a biophysics student, I know you talked a little bit about how women are treated differently, but I was curious, do they get the same level of respect? Are they paid the same as their male counterparts? Can you tell us a little bit about how in practice, both in education and working, some of the differences between how men and women in STEM industries are treated?
I think definitely, this I'm not talking as physics, like someone with physics background, biophysics, or science, also as an employer. One thing that I have noticed, when you are hiring a female and male, men are negotiating, men are asking for more. Female, when they are being hired, they are like, oh my gosh, they are hiring me, that's it. Like, so no, they don't want to lose the opportunity. So that's one thing that I think we should work on, educating females that no, you work more. But also there is the attitude. When I was hired by Swiss Research Institute, Armenian lady learning that I was hired, she said, oh, probably they are going to pay you less, that's why they hired me. So that was the support that I got from Armenian women who knew me, whom I was considering a close family friend. So there is that attitude. Maybe a lot of people are thinking so. I think it's all in our hands. I haven't, for myself, I haven't particularly felt that. As a matter of fact, I was really lucky to be in the team that I was at. When I went to ask for a raise, for example, I got a promotion the first time I went to ask for a raise. But when I remember, I did my due diligence. I had a paperwork. I pulled out all the numbers and the grading system from the HR website, which is not available anymore, I think. But and I was like, those are my project, the success rate. I did some Googling and how that should the process go. I went with that folder of paperwork, and my PI looked at me and he was like, completely, who was the assistant administrative, and then I went there and she said he wants to promote you. I was like, okay, I guess I can take that. So I personally haven't felt that, but I think it all comes how you present yourself. What are you doing? I know at my workplace, a lot of time, people would approach to me and say, did they tell you that they are giving projects to you? Because I became this scary etalon of if you don't complete this by this time, they are giving the project to you, for example. So it might be very subjective because of my situation, but I haven't felt that. But as I said, I have seen that a lot of times, that females are not negotiating. They are ready to take, they're like, oh, we will start here, if everything we will go down, if there is a need, we will do volunteering, or, so that's definitely there.
Stella, this question is for you. Can you tell us what occurs at the annual Femino conference at Yerevan and how you believe this conference and similar events are impacting Armenian women's pursuit of STEM education and careers?
Thank you for the question, Tina. Of course, let me start from how I decided to start Girls in Armenia chapter in the country, because I've always been interested in tech and women issues. That was the moment I saw this is an international thing. Okay, if it is international, then it can be in Armenia as well. So from that moment, I did my best to bring the chapter into the country. But when I started the first event, I always tell that, and not everyone believes that, the first event was one-man show by myself. I mean, I created that. I was just experimenting whether women in tech topic is something, and it was back in 2017. Is it something relevant in the environment I am in? Is it something that people will be interested in? And I am also very proud to say, due to also our own activities as Girls in Tech Armenia, we now have women in tech topic in general being a hot one on the ground, and a lot of companies interested to hire more women professionals and to giving women more space. And during our activities of several years now, we decided, starting last year, we decided to kind of create our own brand in Armenia, supporting women in, now we started to say innovation, that's female innovation that we call. We decided to mix and say femino, and that's where we try to bring all those activities we do in Armenia to a two-day big international conference where we celebrate female talent and leadership. The idea came to first unite all the efforts in the country, those different actors trying to support women into tech and science and business fields. And then on the other hand, because there is so much potential in Armenia, we decided to position ourselves as a very interesting hub in the region where there is female potential, and then where women make a difference, both in science and technology. And I am happy to say that with the first ever conference last year, we managed to bring 1,500 people for both days of the conference, which is huge when we consider the sizes of Armenia. And we keep on engaging international attention first, and then for ourselves as an organization, it is important to bring international interest to the country with different opportunities to support different startups. We have a startup competition with at least one female founder, and then different activities, including a lot of them, and with a big focus on STEM education for younger generation. And at Femino, every year we bring all those different participants of our programs, including a number of girls from rural areas. And by now we have received very interesting feedback how they got connected with someone who supported them to get a scholarship. We do our own scholarship program to promote more and more young girls into STEM fields, especially in science education. So basically these are a collective high point of everything we do during the year to bring it to these 2 days and support more and more girls into STEM.
How important do you think having female role models in STEM-based careers is to motivating other young females to pursue careers in these fields?
Actually, having female role models is very important, but having mentors is much more important, because when you see it's different thing, when you feel it and you can absorb how to do that, how someone did that, it's much more important. And especially having male figures in your environment who are supportive, and who are supportive not because you are a girl, but they're just supportive because they understand that there is no difference in terms of opportunity myself, I can say that my father was my role model, and I never thought that there is a difference. Yeah, he never talked to me saying that, you know, there is a discrimination, but by his action, he became a role model for me. And it's much more important to have male figures in our society who are not discriminating than women, because yeah, by nature we are not going to discriminate ourselves, right? So yeah, role models are important, but mentorship for me is much more valuable.
And to me, role modeling is something really, really important. I agree when it comes to empowerment can not, how to say, reach the aim of how to say, bringing the person to the field or to the whatever the reason we are trying for. But empowerment is the first step. So in order to get empowered, it is very important, and we see it through our different programs, that when you show an example, and more often these are women, young girls who become role models, you relate a lot. When you see a similar story of a young girl from a neighborhood that really reached a point, then you get inspired. Of course, then there should be step 2, 3, and others, so that you steps of more support, so that you can push the way, and if you are interested. But role modeling, and we see it again, just 2 days ago in Armenia, we being here partly with the team and some others being in Armenia, in partnership with UNFPA, we have been doing a very symbolic March 8 celebration. And the idea was to bring young girls from all the regions of Armenia, one for each region, who reached some level of professional success, being in science, studying, or already working in any science field, to bring them into Güral'dan, the observatory, again, very symbolically to the environment, and to show them as role models, to tell their very simple stories that how we decided, what were the obstacles, how I became a scientist, I became a data scientist, whatever. And then the audience were young people, not only girls, by the way, who came from the region, Armenian region, to just follow the stories and then get inspired. See very similar, almost the same age young people that with this example, I just want to share that role modeling is not just, we don't need to have very big names and very big experiences. It's just relation that it is possible. And from that moment, then other steps. Either the person should push himself, herself mostly, or there should be more support ways to push the race.
I think I will continue on what ladies already have said. For anything, not only for STEM, it's very important to understand that there are people who have gone through paths that were not walked before, and that's okay. And there is a success on the end. There is a potential for success on the end. One example, it seems like this all became an exemplary panel, but another example I want to bring, when I was in business school doing my MBA, I had a chance to do an independent research, and one thing that was kind of in my mind constantly is, I'm being always associated with Middle Eastern Muslim women. How do they succeed? And I decided to do a research topic on that, and I started to be an executive, to be promoted to an executive level. What's the path for that? And I started interviewing different people, and in my interview groups, I included very many categories. And interestingly, I came across 2 Slavic women also who were like, hey, we are discriminated too, why don't you include in your study? And then men, Middle Eastern men, they were like, me too, because of my name, I think I'm being discriminated. People are not answering my emails when they are saying my name is Muhammad, for example. sell a stroller or something on a chat, work chat or something, they use it. And then Slavic men. So what I came across was that if you are a female who ended up being in executive position in tech world, those were the females that either had Western education or those are CEOs or VPs or C-level executives who started company or their family started company, so that was the trend. And I was like, okay, I guess another thing was the name change, so I was trying to create a toolkit how to overcome these barriers. And name change is one of the things if you start going by another name, especially when you have a very stereotypic name for men, especially. Accent is another thing that, well, with us, we cannot do anything after a certain age, right? And then another thing, that's when I was like, I guess if I want to be a CEO, I have to create my own company. But that's a joke. But so then I started working with women who were mentors, residential entrepreneurs at UCSD. And that was a tremendous help to talk to them and also understanding that those are accessible people. And I know whenever I'm on verge of some decision making, there is a person who is a CEO of a huge company and he's accessible. I have another mentor who is running one of the chapters of the Research CEO organization that I know whenever I email him saying, Mark, I need to vent or I need to brainstorm with you, he's accessible. And through these people, you hear different directions, different stories, and you understand that there is no one cookie cutter model for anything. And that's very important. And being accessible. Now, for me, whenever somebody, especially on even startups, some of the VCs are writing me saying there is this startup or from Berkeley Skytech, they're like, there is this company, do you think you might be able to help them? And I'm like, oh yes, yeah, bring it in, let's talk. And I ended up for some of them, actually there is one great female startup, entrepreneur, for example, I have weekly conversations with her now whenever she's having a term sheet or something. We're like sitting down, talking together, or to say the truth, it's fulfilling. So it's not only I don't feel like, oh, I'm giving back to community. Actually, that's energizing too.
So we talked a little bit about some of the reasons why girls from a young age stay away from the STEM industries and how they're treated a little bit during, if they do pursue that path. How do we begin to close the gender gap in STEM education and the job market? What are some steps that we can take?
I can start. Yep. So I think one of the things, number one, it is in any field, is the awareness. Awareness towards what are the potentials in this field. Second, how, whenever somebody has a fear of misunderstanding, how to overcome certain barriers, how these barriers are overcame, and also elevating each other. I think elevating each other is a huge thing. We as educators are very modest. We see a lot of times somebody does something and we say, oh, Elizabeth, you did a great job, fantastic. She was like, oh, nothing, I just sent emails. No, you put together a huge event. This is like a great thing. Men, I remember from my past, somebody created an Excel file of some list and my boss came and said, did you see what Sean created? I'm like, yes, Excel file. And it was so we have to do it to each other because we do something and we don't get credit for it. I think we should start tapping each other's shoulder and say, hey, Nina, you're doing an awesome job. This is fantastic, no one else is doing it. It's okay to feel a little bit maybe over credited for something that we are doing. I think that's going to give that self-satisfaction also when we are leaving our kids and going to do something. We are doing something great. And usually we are actually doing something greater than men because whenever there is a board meeting or something, females show up with so much due diligence down than any man. You see these ridiculous men sometimes coming to the meeting, they have no idea what the topic is that they are going to have a conversation about. So I think we should start elevating each other, tapping each other's shoulders, and creating.
Actually, when we speak about STEM, we need to realize that when we talk about science, it's a completely different thing compared with technology and engineering, because especially in Armenia, science is not a breadwinning choice for men as well. So that's why in Armenia we have Gidush, maybe you have heard about Gidush. So we consolidated tech ecosystem power to make changes in the R&D and fixing the environment for science, so it can be a choice for men and women in general. But when it comes to technology, we have different challenges. It's high-paying positions, but as Lucy already said, we don't want to hire someone because of the gender, because for me, it's discrimination as well. So when we do not hire someone for her gender, we need to not to hire because of the gender as well. So we don't want the ecosystem where our girls can use their gender as an advantage. We want that equality of opportunities. So yeah, I envision a world where we don't use the labels women and men, and especially for filling that gap, we need to call it a scientist, just a scientist, just an engineer, just a programmer, without that labels. Because I have talked to women scientists, and they hate being called women scientists, because they say that sometimes people just invite us to the interview and they say, oh, can you give an interview? And she's like, oh, you are interested in my topic, and no, we are interested in your gender. And it's not a correct way to approach. So we need to fix that. And yeah, to have the environment that any merit can be celebrated regardless of gender.
And continuing and agreeing to everything mentioned about gender gap, we being an organization that is supporting women in tech and STEM fields, we do it daily. We try hard to find ways for different groups, different targets to make this gap to close it as effectively as possible. But going back to several things already mentioned, I would really like to see during my lifetime when we have a chance to skip this gender labels. That would be perfect. But by the time we do have to mention that this is the percentage of women here and there, only this number of women take positions here and there, then from also a feministic perspective, we do have to non-stop approach supporting women, supporting in the fields they prefer to be in, and especially when we talk about STEM, it is very important to keep on empowering them. That's one thing, and also trying to engage more men supporting women in STEM, because otherwise decisions are mostly made by men, and if we don't do that, we still have a long way to go.
Thank you. I now want to open up the panel to some questions if anybody in the audience has any questions for our panelists.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
When you mentioned about, men should be equally involved in the process so that the decision makers would be, they will be influenced by men. How can we make female decision makers that way? How can we empower men to create female decision makers? I come from STEM area, so I work in IT and telecoms for Ericsson, FTSE 500 companies, and I see what it is like. There was positive discrimination as well for females because Scandinavian culture does encourage that, but it's not common. It's not everywhere.
Your question is how we can
Influence men.
Influence, okay.
So that they become, they encourage female to become decision makers, giving them, as a project leader, I was given the power to make decisions for multi-million pound projects. So how that gives you the confidence. So how can we influence men? Because not everywhere in the IT telecoms industry, my experience is it's the same.
Yeah.
The question.
Maybe, the question is how we can influence men, decision men, to give more space to women.
Yes, yes.
If I can sum it up. Okay, I can speak from our own examples. When we did well in pushing the way and also influencing men. One vivid example for myself is static examples of women who make difference. For example, if there is a change maker woman in a company and she's doing really good and she by herself, by her own efforts, reaches at a certain level when men decide just because of the productivity of the work, decide to give her space, this becomes by itself a natural influence on them to give more space to similar women or just women because they were used to working with men more often than women. And another example is to also, from the other side, to try to, as we have an example of a man who is already influenced, to try to use this person opportunity as an opportunity. And we had another good chance to bring male speakers to our conference. For example, one of the talks at our conference was by a man saying what we men do wrong. And that was very influential towards the audience when men is speaking about what we do wrong when we are discriminating and how we can overcome it. So those are things that I have from experience.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry I have to leave because I have to attend the UK mission. I come from UK, so sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Do you want to do it? Okay.
Hi everybody. First of all, I'm very happy to be here and I congratulate all of you with the beautiful innovations you have started to have.
Closer.
Closer.
You just have to go closer.
Okay. So are you hearing me? I will just, my interventions, I have two. It will just be because of the conversation we have started and we have continued. First of all, what we were mentioning, men to be included. I agree with you, but let's start from ourselves, okay? We are here for CSW 67, United Nations, and we are all here for certain, meetings we are having. Now let's see here, except this gentleman, we don't have any other men to listen to us.
Thank you for being here.
So it will be 3 against how many women we have, maybe 30 I would say, or 25 or whatever. So the ratio is very little. It's for us to work for that. When we want to include them, we should include them from the very beginning, the grassroots everywhere. Tell them to come, to listen to us, to see what we have to say. All these beautiful things that you have mentioned, we are hearing each other. They are not hearing us. And this will make a big difference and a change if they are with us. So let's have them, let's include them whenever we are together discussing all these our gender issues, gender gaps. Number 1. Number 2, I will mention something concerning the lady was telling that when someone is, not promoted, oh, I'm here, I have the job, and she forgets all about that. That's true, but you know why? Because the legislations we have and the policies we have, they lack this. They have the gender gaps over there. When in our, let's say, policies, we have certain quotas, whether it's 30%, 40% women, they are obliged to have us. I mean, when I say they, the governments. And when we are there and we start showing what we can do, what we can achieve, they will automatically accept us. This is, again, something that we have to work with the governments. We need policies, we need legislation. It's not just to say that we are achievers. Okay, we are great achievers, and especially you, the young generations. Today I come and I see in technology, you're fantastic. I mean, for me, we are a bit dépassé, as they say, when it comes to technology. But with all these innovations you have to make the change in the policies, in the government. It's not enough to just sit and say, okay, we will. And then what? Let's take all the Danish and Nordic countries. Why they are better than us? Why women over there they have achieved? Because they have policies, they have legislation. Now, I come from Lebanon. You know the discrimination we have about women. You know, I mean, the challenges we have, unbelievable. Even the mother who has, let's say, the children that are born of the mothers who are Lebanese, they cannot be granted the nationality if the father is a non-Lebanese. I mean, just see the gender gap we have. And we are working for that. I wouldn't say that it will happen tomorrow with all the problems we have, of course, in our country. But at least let's work with the policies. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
May I elaborate a little bit on what you just said in the question before? I agree, policies is great to have, but let's, looking from practical side, if there is a man or woman, doesn't matter, someone who is at the level of decision making or a leadership position, they want things to be done. I think one thing that females are being just self-aware, we need to be self-aware. We are not always good at power and politics. So if we can be politically, position ourselves so that they want their job, they want their work to succeed. But we have to present ourselves that we are that point who can take the decision-making position. It's very simple because everybody wants to succeed. Just we are not presenting in general. Females are not going out of their area. We can be great coders, but we don't participate in politics of the companies. We don't go and participate in the conversations about football or whatever.
Yes.
I mean, we need to be part of it. We want to be seen. If we want to be integrated in it, we have to learn how the power and politics are done. Again, I don't want us to be included because somebody said, hey, include female in this. No, I want us to be included because they cannot be without us. Because we are doing things better than they are doing. I mean, that's the only consistent way of doing it. And there is, you mentioned the countries and the Lebanon and there is a huge contrast. There is a cultural factor in that. And that's where we are not the same in Armenia. We don't learn that power and politics, the authority and all of that important skill set, soft skill set that we need to have inside that we can solve mathematical equations better than the peer co-worker, male co-worker next to us. That's not enough. That's not being a decisive person. We need to also be part of the whole game of the infrastructure, and we have to make them understand that they cannot be without us. In that case, they are not going to say, hey, it's okay, we will cut 50% of our revenue, just let us have a male decision maker here. I think we need to do work on it ourselves.
Just again, going back to the Armenian example, I totally agree with you for both cases, and especially about policies. And we have a very good example of politics itself, when it's several years now that there's a quota for the Armenian parliament to have at least 30% women, and we have 30% women in the Armenian parliament. That's just because of the quota. Of course, they were not the best, especially in the first years, but then the least have to have every 7
many women go into the arts because it's one of the professions that you can, have as like acceptable and have as with your family life. And men are forbidden because you cannot be an artist and sustain a family and that's how. So, and the role of arts in your world and how important it is to have the A there instead of STEM.
I think any type of education is crucially important for human to develop as individuals. My kids were attending at their elementary school, actually was STEAM class, and that was fantastic. I mean, the type of education they were getting in art, music, painting, like studying, all of that was absolutely amazing. And all of that has to be given to human beings so that early on they can understand, and it has nothing to do with female or male. Again, you're at the nice point. That just like for us developing as personalities and being able to understand and pick out the interest in us, what is, and then being happy people like who understand what are our hobbies and we make money with our hobbies. That's the best thing that can happen to anyone. But for that, there needs to be an exposure for everyone, for men, for women, for girls, for boys, early age. That's I think critically important.
I really love the way they pronounce that STEAM, not STEM, and I'm coming from art myself, and one of the male figures that I mentioned was my art teacher, who introduced me to the product design. So yeah, I believe that we need to include art because art brings different kind of discipline. And when we go to the origins, even back to very, very early days, art and science was going hand by hand. And then somehow we separated and we tend to call art more emotional and science more logical, but I believe that we need to include it as much as possible to have that philosophical approach to any problem that we have when we face it in science.
I also studied art history, and that's something I love, and we try to engage in our programs we do. And I just remembered how we integrated, there was a problem for STEM teachers all around Armenia, and we integrated a playful performing activity. And the moment we said, okay, now you have to stand in the position of X and Y, and I said, what should we do? And then in the end, as a reflection, all the STEM teachers sat back and said, okay, this is something we could do with our kids. So art is there. Unfortunately, it's not STEAM term is not so much circulated on the ground, but we are happy that STEM is already something hot in the schools, in public schools especially.
And it gives the out of the box thinking ability, which is very critical for innovation, for sure.
Oh, there's a microphone. Turn it on.
Okay, so first of all, I wanted to thank Ava and Yuan and all of you for being here today. This topic is very close to my heart. My name is Liana, and I'm in technology myself and leadership, and I'm actually investing in this. And thank you for bringing us some examples, not just as advisors, because I'm the type that we have to act to get the results, because there's a lot of people who are giving advices, but that's not working, unfortunately, unless we put ourselves there and see and drive the change and not complain. So, as we're getting to the closer, I want to hear your actionable advices to each and everyone in this room, as your female and male allies and everyone online who are following, what each of us can do. I would like to hear everyone's opinion, one thing that you think is going to make a change. I'm going to start.
Do you want the short version of it, or
Yeah. I think you have 10 things someone does.
yeah? But I think we need to act.
Right.
That's the short version of it. our capacity, and it's not hard to do it. Influence, give awareness, and if we can somehow promote environment where people can test drive and understand if that's something they like or not, that's one thing that we can do.
For me, it would be delivering anything we do with the highest possible quality, because that is the way that we can fix and be desired in any environment. And also, if we can fix the cultural problems, and if we can convince someone sitting next to us who is discriminating, yeah, we're in a good way.
Well, short version. So start supporting girls and women as early as possible. The moment you see it is possible from your side. Another good and from my point very effective way is to be an example. Just be there as an example and spread the word.
The microphone is working now.
Any other questions? Anything else any of the panelists want to add before we conclude? Okay, well, I think that's going to conclude today's session. I want to thank all of the panelists for being here today and sharing with us your experience and insights as we try to empower and advance women and girls in the digital age. A video of this panel discussion will be available in the coming days on AWA's YouTube channel and also on our website at awainternational.org. If you have not yet joined AWA as a member, we encourage you to visit our website and to join so that you can connect with and elevate Armenian women globally. And for those of you who are attending the Greater New York affiliate Beginnings and Powerhouse Dinner, we will see you at Calera Taverna tonight at 7. Thank you for coming. Thank you, ladies.